Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Brian if you're new here, and I'm promising that I'm not going to do any crazy beats. However, in my last video is the literal most engaged video that I've ever posted on this channel. So I'm going to challenge you guys to interact with this video in some way if you feel like I earn it. Whether liking, commenting, subscribing, all of that stuff helps out the channel and the videos. And yeah, that's the way we'll go with it. I got a lot of cringe, but I also had a lot of people who really liked it. So I'm not trying to be that. I just sometimes feel ridiculous, and sometimes it bleeds into the videos themselves. But today I want to talk to you guys about the upcoming server mergers, because I want to make sure you have this kind of information. And not everybody is necessarily excited about it. Personally speaking, I am. But I would like to also offer a counterpoint and kind of going over their points in detail, because I think there's something really interesting in here, especially as it relates to New World, as kind of a light discussion itself. But first, let's cover the news so you guys have the information. And if you want to stick around for the little bit of discussion, yeah, that'd be great. So first and foremost, the server mergers are happening April 15th. They're happening across the board, like Asgard, Hades, Helm, Fae, and Cater City will be merged into Abaton. Sinks, Australia, Antica, Utgard, and Lenar are going to Aru. Lentonese will be merged with Nisa. Bifrost, Nephilim, Bengodi, and Kor will be merged into Toranag. And I wish they would go with Nephilim or something like that. Like, all right, Articus will be merged with Tartarus. For EOS East was where we play. We're actually on Pleroma right here. So that's actually going to be going to Orphanera, Oceania, V's, Zervinus, and Pleroma are all going to get merged. And so you can also check out like New World Status or nbwdb.info/server status to see the various different worlds. So you could also see kind of the population. So Orono, let's see here. That's Ohono. Should I sort by world? It is. Okay. Is that a new, is it becoming? No, it's not a new world. Let's see here. Oh, there we go. Couldn't find it. Looks like their base population 413. We've been running around 200, people itself for Pleroma, and with that being kind of merged in right now, 122. I think essentially we're going to see better server populations for the West. U.S. West, Midian, Ravenera, Dinero, and New Cana are going to be moved into Isidrilsil. Australia, Lerno is going to be moved into Utopia, and Lardo will be moved into Delos. And I'm just butchering the names, and that's just what you get with a dyslexic ginger. That's just how it goes. But again, you could check kind of see where you want to go. Is that going to have an impact? What kind of server populations are we going to see ultimately? And overall, like there's, I think, a few servers that have definitely a healthy population. I would rate a healthy population as anything easily above 200 on any given day. And then obviously, as you get into more higher pop servers at different times of the day, that's gonna impact you one way or the other. And that's really where kind of the discussion comes into play. So let's go ahead and talk about it in terms of going overboard on server mergers. This says, I love the game, but I really want more control over the people that I play with. I'm going to go from a server with currently 300 people on a server to where 1,700 people will be online based on the concurrent players across the servers right now. No thanks. Now, note that I actually, typically when we see server mergers, it can actually lead into a player dip because people might feel frustrated, because you will, like if you lose territory through the merger, you will be compensated with 50,000 gold, but yeah, that's not necessarily like, you might have worked real hard for that territory, and so it can feel defeating. And that's definitely a point of interest that we can always talk about, obviously, in future videos. But I look forward to logging in every day and participating in invasions every day where I know that the people I'm running with. I enjoy being part of a small, meaningful part of the territory management. I enjoy harvesting with less competition. I enjoy not having any gold sellers spamming stuff. The merger might just put me off the game again after getting a third character to 60, looking for a fresh start and really finding a home in New World. And dang it, I just realized I bought $50 worth of tokens the other day. I don't think you realize just how many people have quit because of server mergers in the past, and the power control, etc. is just not being fun for players. Some members of my company have even taken to looking for smaller servers to transfer to rather than getting shoved into this, and that's if we keep playing at all. And so I want to kind of spend a little bit of time on this itself just as a topic. And I think essentially when it comes down to server mergers and players who want to play more on a kind of a smaller pop server, I think this is a critical feature that New World has to get, and that is essentially cross server matching when it comes to like content like OPR, the 3v3 PvP, which essentially is going to look like it's tentative for May unless they decide to do a surprise April update. And the reason is that outside of that, like there's some value in being on a smaller server. They listed it, being able to run invasions with different people, being able to like have and kind of a more personalized experience of the game. Nothing wrong with that at all. Like I can totally get it. It's actually been nice playing with more just people within this community that is just active and having a great time and not necessarily caught up in the be all end all. But here's the thing. Sometimes you want to be caught up in the be all end all. Sometimes you want to make sure that you can get into the content when you want to get into the content. OPR being kind of the big highlight right now because that's the real match made content. But when we look at the dungeon group finder coming this summer, when we look at obviously the 3v3 PvP, being on a small server ends up disincentivizing it completely. And so if you actually bring in cross server matching, which they said they're working on and they're looking into, we just don't have an ETA on that to date. That means essentially what you end up seeing is that, smaller servers are ending up struggling more because generally speaking, new players and new blood and fresh blood are going to go into the more populated servers. And why would they? Would they not? Because essentially you don't have the value, that even spread tool to bring out all the features into a small server, making sure that you're not being punished for being on a small server. And in fact, you could actually benefit in the future from being on a small server. The other thing that's of interest, and one of the things that I wanted to kind of add on to this, just as kind of a little, tip of the hat here, or, I don't know, in one of the ways, is the aspect of guesting on servers. When the 2,000 player cap is also where people start to fear, like, oh, am I going to have to start waiting in any queues again? I don't want to wait in queues. And so you start kind of seeing populations tend to shift as well with these free tokens that are out there. And so that ends up causing, a lot of people to quit the game. But what I think New World needs to also look at doing from a technological perspective, imagine when the game launched and you're in a 10,000 person queue, if it lets you guest your character onto a server that's not as populated. However, there would need to be restrictions, like maybe there'd be certain things you could not do, like influence the wars or things like that. Who knows? Maybe you could do them. I'm not making up the rules. I'm just asking you guys the questions. But essentially, where like if I could log in and I could guess, kind of like how Guild Wars 2 does it, where it's just like, okay, like there's a long queue over here, or maybe I just want a little bit more casual, relaxed. I'm going to play on this little light pop server where the worlds aren't so set. There's an important value to the worlds being set, and that's the war for territory and things like that. But then that's where that 2,000 player cap and a piece of the content, and actually a big piece of the content that New World offers, comes into play, and that you might not necessarily be participating in. But I think essentially, I think the fear of being on a high pop server for queues would be relieved if you're like, well, maybe it's going to be an hour before you can play because the world is currently full. Then you could literally be like, well, I'll go play over here until my spot's open, right? I'll go guest on this server until the spot's open. And I think the more friction they can alleviate, while at the same time preserving a little bit of that server culture, a little bit of the the invasion and the war race, I think that would be really important. And then when we talk about small servers specifically, it's kind of my final thought, having it then connect into being able to do 20v20 wars or 30v30 wars, or 20 invasions where it scales based off the number of participants. So from a small server, you have more options, so you don't end up having, because one of the things that happens right now is that an invasion might just ravage you. You might be spending all this money and try to keep up your territory, and an invasion comes through and you just don't have the bodies to fill it. So essentially that would allow for a little bit more scaling, a little bit more flexibility, a little less friction. But those are just my thoughts, and I'd put the question to you guys. Love to know more. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Are you excited about these upcoming server mergers, or are you concerned like some people out there? I want to highlight this. Also include a link to this specific post if you want to go weigh in with your own feedback, your own concerns as well. So thanks guys for your time. Hopefully you're having a great day. Hopefully I'll see you in my next video. But until then,
take care, baby. Yeah. It's time to chill out on the couch and read some comments. That's right. You know me when it comes to Destiny. I'm off with the clan, and I'm glad you're feeling better. Oh yeah.